If certain teams square off against each other in January, then fireworks are most certainly going to fly and entertainment will be there.
The Bills are finally over the hump and back in the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, for the Eagles, they're trying to pull off what only 3 teams have done before, go from Super Bowl losers to Super Bowl champions.
Let's dive into 10 Super Bowl 58 matchups that we are drooling to see in Las Vegas come February. Kansas City Chiefs versus San Francisco 49ers. Super Bowl 54 between these two clubs was epic 4 seasons ago, with the Chiefs erasing a 10-point deficit in the fourth quarter by racking up 21 unanswered points for a 31-20 victory. Well, we can confidently say that a rematch would be even better, because the 49ers now have Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, and a now more established Deebo Samuel on offense. And with all due respect to Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy is simply a better quarterback. The 49ers defense couldn't solve Patrick Mahomes in Super Bowl 54, nor in their Week 7 2022 matchup. But at least they have the QB and offensive firepower to go head-to-head with Mahomes and company. Seeing Andy Reid and the reigning MVP go up against the league's best defense would be a treat of a chess match itself. But when you especially consider all the big names on offense and throw them into the Super Bowl 58 stage, you really have the makings for a classic. A second Super Bowl matchup in 5 years with these two clubs? Yeah, sign us up. Buffalo Bills versus Philadelphia Eagles. The Bills were the favorites to win the Super Bowl last season, and, well, they sure lived up to the hype in the regular season, finishing with the number 2 scoring offense and defense. Josh Allen had the 3rd most MVP votes, too. But Buffalo's Super Bowl aspirations ended in a dud. An ugly 27-10 home loss to Joe Burrow's Cincinnati Bengals in the divisional round. And then you had the Eagles, who won the 2022 offseason and ran away with the NFC's top seed at 14-3. They were oh so close to winning the Super Bowl, losing after a tacky James Bradbury defensive holding call late in the game. Like the Bills, the Eagles finished with the top 10 scoring offense and defense last year. These two teams are essentially evenly matched on paper, and that is always a recipe for an all-time Super Bowl classic. For what it's worth, the Bills will visit the Eagles in Week 12. If that game lives up to the hype, pardon us for not so secretly rooting for a Buffalo-Philly Super Bowl. You would get nothing but explosive plays, highlight reel moments, and our personal favorite, a lot of points. Cincinnati Bengals versus Dallas Cowboys. The Bengals are among the big 3 AFC heavyweights with the Bills and Chiefs. If any of those clubs represent the AFC in Super Bowl 58, hey, we'll be all set from an entertainment perspective. But in regards to potential challengers for the Bengals in the big dance, well, how about America's team? The storyline itself would be ultra enticing. Joe Burrow trying to lead the Bengals to the franchise's first Super Bowl over the team that you either love or hate. And regardless of how you feel about the Cowboys, they are a massive ratings draw and would make any Super Bowl that much more compelling. But we're of course mostly focused on the offensive firepower here. Burrow and his 3-headed monster at wideout, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and running back Joe Mixon against Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and Tony Pollard. Both clubs fielded top 10 scoring defenses last year, so it would be enticing to see how Burrow and Prescott go to work against their respective opponents. Trayvon Diggs and Stephon Gilmore versus Chase and Higgins would be must-watch TV itself. And hey, ditto for Cincy's fierce front 7 against Dallas's rock-solid offensive line. Baltimore Ravens versus Seattle Seahawks. This may feel like a bit of a strange and random entry, but hey, we stand by it. A Ravens-Seahawks Super Bowl would be great for the average football fan, and for a variety of reasons. The Ravens and Seahawks have similar identities. They have Super Bowl winning and Canton-bound head coaches who love to win the old school way, run the ball down your throats and wear you down with a hard-hitting and bruising defense. The Ravens have the league's best rushing QB in Lamar Jackson and a backfield with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. Seattle has Kenneth Walker, who rushed for over 1,000 yards last season, and rookie Zach Charbonnet. Seattle has a scary receiving trio in veterans DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, plus rookie Jackson Smith-Njigba. Also, how would the Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon-led Seattle secondary hold up against the likes of Mark Andrews, Odell Beckham Jr., and Zay Flowers? That is another fun battle that would bear watching. The Seahawks actually visit Baltimore in Week 9, so we'll get a nice look at how these two stack up against each other. But either way, this would be a slick Super Bowl matchup with 2 high-powered rushing offenses and a pair of hard-hitting defenses anchored by superstar defensive backs. Detroit Lions versus Jacksonville Jaguars. This may not be the most attractive matchup for the average fan, and for those at the NFL and CBS office who stress greatly about TV ratings. But the Lions and Jaguars are actually fun again after spending, well, the better part of the last 15 or so years in complete misery and irrelevance. The Lions are football's lovable losers, and the Jaguars are a feel-good team, having won the AFC South last season, a year after ridding themselves of the miserable Urban Meyer stench. These two clubs are also among the four who have never played in a Super Bowl, along with the Cleveland Browns and Houston Texans. Detroit seems set to contend now after recording their first winning season since 2017, and the Jaguars are just getting started with Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence leading the way. Lions and Jaguars fans deserve to celebrate a Super Bowl after all these years of dysfunction, mismanagement, and mostly awful play on the field. And considering that these were two top 10 offenses a year ago, and considering both units should be even better in 2023, we can confidently say that a Jaguars-Lions Super Bowl would be nothing short of grade A theater. Dallas Cowboys versus Los Angeles Chargers. Thanks to the NFL's expansion to a 17-game schedule and its format, we get to see the Cowboys and Chargers clash at SoFi Stadium on Monday Night Football in Week 6. Potential Super Bowl preview? Hey, we wouldn't complain about that. We know half of you hate the Cowboys, and we know that the Chargers don't exactly have, well, a big following. At least not anymore. Not even in California. But that does not mean that we would be bored with a showdown between these two prolific offenses. And if you want a fun storyline, then look no further than Kellen Moore. The latter had a phenomenal run as the Cowboys OC, but was curiously fired by Mike McCarthy after Dallas's latest playoff elimination. Brandon Staley and the Chargers picked up Moore to serve as the OC for freshly extended Justin Herbert. What a story it would be if Moore helped the Bolts to the franchise's first ever Super Bowl, against his old team no less. Also, the Bolts and Cowboys have knacks for finding incredible ways to choke in big games. Wouldn't it be funny, or at the very least something, if this contest came down to which team made the final error? Look, just saying, we'd be game to watch that unfold. Cincinnati Bengals versus San Francisco 49ers. The Bengals' first two Super Bowl appearances in franchise history ended with heartbreaking losses to the Joe Montana-led dynastic 49ers. More than 3 decades after those heartbreaking losses, the Bengals continue their search for Lombardi Trophy #1. But in this hypothetical showdown, one of these teams would finally end the years of heartbreak, and watching Joe Burrow and his weapons go to work against the league's best defense would make for Oscar-worthy drama. On the flip side, how would Lou Anarumo's stingy defense game plan against the 49ers' wealth of playmakers and Run CMC, Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle? This could either be a defensive slugfest or an offensive fireworks-filled affair. San Fran and Cincy meet at Levi Stadium in Week 8, so if and when they put on one of the best matches of the year, join us in hoping for a 49ers-Bengals Super Bowl clash in Sin City. Kansas City Chiefs versus Philadelphia Eagles. Alright, sorry to be a bit predictable here, but this is no different than attending a fiery rock concert. The performance is so freaking good that you just want an encore. Alright, we know. The Chiefs are actually hosting the Eagles on Monday night in Week 11, thanks again to the NFL's 17th game format. Both Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts put up incredible performances in Super Bowl 57, but there's only room for one winner on the grand stage. And many of you are probably like us in that you remain sour over the fact that this Super Bowl classic ended with a cheap defensive holding call against James Bradbury. So, let us see a sequel in which the refs hopefully let the players play and decide the game. And one more kicker. The last time we saw those same two teams meet in back-to-back Super Bowls, 1992 and 1993, when the Dallas Cowboys thrilled the Bills in both big games. And you know, I think we're long overdue for the Super Bowl rematch drought to end, and this is the perfect year for it. Green Bay Packers versus the New York Jets. Come on, do we really need to say anything else? The Packers kinda sorta couldn't wait to move on from Aaron Rodgers, trading up so they could take a successor, Jordan Love, 26th overall in 2020. And after never-ending trade and retirement rumors, Rodgers and the Packers finally agreed on a trade that sent him to the New York Jets. We never saw a Joe Montana versus Steve Young Super Bowl, nor a Rodgers versus Brett Favre Super Bowl, nor a Tom Brady versus Mac Jones Super Bowl. But hey, what if we got Rodgers going up against his former team, led by his successor? Yeah, sign us up for that every day of the week. Either Rodgers proves that the Jets were silly by letting him go, Or the Packers show that they were geniuses for dumping him for love. We would not be short of enticing storylines in a Packers-Jets Super Bowl. Also, side note, Jair Alexander and Rasul Douglas going up against Garrett Wilson and ex-teammate Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb would be can't-miss TV. Buffalo Bills versus San Francisco 49ers. If the Bills win the AFC Championship and it's not the Eagles in the NFC, can it please be the 49ers? A Bills-49ers Super Bowl just might be the most compelling script among all possible combinations for the big game. Josh Allen might not have Patrick Mahomes' stats or accolades, but he'd sure be a joy to watch against this lockdown 49ers D and resilient pass rush. If there is a non-KC offense that can give this 49er defense a handful, it is the Allen Diggs-Davis Knox-led group. And while we constantly rave about the 49ers offense, how would they fare against the league's best safety tandem plus Tre'Davious White and Von Miller? As great as both defenses are, something tells us that this would be an all-out offensive showdown with two savvy offensive play callers in Sean McDermott and Kyle Shanahan. Do the Bills finally get their hands on the franchise's first Super Bowl, or do the 49ers finally end the near 30-year drought and join the Pittsburgh Steelers and New England Patriots as the only clubs with 6 Lombardi trophies? But what other Super Bowl 58 matchups would you love to see? Let us know in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton, and hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.